The story opens with our protagonist experiencing the lowest point in his life. Alongside his studies, he takes up a part-time job at a cyber cafe to help cover his father's debts. One day, his world crumbles when he discovers that his girlfriend is unfaithful. She's involved with a wealthy man and decides to end the relationship. To make matters worse, the hero is drowning in credit card debt, having spent lavishly on gifts for his ex-girlfriend. One fateful day, while crossing the street, he spots a young child in the path of an oncoming truck. Instinctively, he rushes to save the child without a second thought. Though the child is saved, he sacrifices his own life in the process, getting hit by the truck and dying instantly. The next scene shows him awakening in a strange realm, where he meets the god of life and death. The deity tells him that his death was a mistake. He was actually destined to live until the age of 98. The hero begs for a second chance, but the god explains that reviving him would violate the rules. Instead, the god offers him a fresh start in another world. The hero agrees, requesting a peaceful, responsibility-free life. The god honors his wish, reincarnating him as a prince in a royal bloodline. In this new world, he's born into a prestigious and powerful clan. 15 years go by, and Nick grows up living a pampered and idle life. With 2 servants catering to his every need, he spends his days indulging in food and relaxation, ignoring the rigorous training the others undergo. This was exactly the peaceful life he had hoped for. Whenever his father visits, Nick pretends to be hard at work training. However, his father remains skeptical and never fully trusts him, forbidding him from venturing out to train. Trouble brews when a conspiracy against their clan begins to take shape. Concerned, Nick's father urges him to prepare himself and develop leadership skills. He eventually grants Nick permission to train, but only if he first defeats a powerful demon beast. Nick agrees and embarks on the mission. Initially, he encounters a small creature and assumes it will be an easy victory. But the moment he breaks the seal, the creature transforms into a massive and terrifying monster. Startled, Nick braces for battle. He strikes with his sword, but the monster retaliates and hurls him back. Despite his efforts, Nick's attacks barely affect the monster. With a crushing blow, the beast knocks him down. Refusing to surrender, Nick taps into his inner power, unleashing a radiant energy that envelopes him. Reinvigorated, he launches a rapid assault and wounds the monster badly. Noticing his son's resolve, Nick's father tosses him a legendary sword, one that awakens only when soaked in the wielder's blood. Nick cuts himself, activating the sword, which begins to shine brilliantly. With a mighty swing, he slays the monster. But victory is short-lived. The monster's enraged mother appears, seeking vengeance. As she enters the battlefield, Nick's father intervenes to protect him. Nick tries to fight her, but she easily evades his strikes and delivers a brutal attack, severing his arm. Using a spell, Nick reattaches his arm and continues to resist her furious onslaught. His father once again steps. Later, Nick comes face to face with the mother of the monster he had slain. To his surprise, he learns that she wasn't entirely at fault. She was simply mourning and seeking justice for her child. The encounter leaves Nick emotionally torn. His mother, sensing this, advises him that such feelings may cloud his decisions when he eventually becomes king. Impressed by his courage and maturity, Nick's father finally allows him to train freely beyond the palace grounds. Overjoyed, Nick embarks on his first real training journey, accompanied by his 2 loyal companions. During a playful attempt to steal eggs from a tall tree, Nick is startled by the sudden appearance of a giant snake. Panicking, he loses his balance and crashes to the ground. As he lies there, a nearby girl bursts into laughter at his fall. Embarrassed and irritated, Nick demands she stop, claiming anyone would be scared in his place. Offended, the girl unexpectedly transforms into the same snake that had frightened him and launches a fierce attack. Nick, trying not to hurt her, holds back, but the girl is relentless. One of her blows shatters his bones. Pushed to his limit, Nick retaliates with full force. Their battle intensifies, and soon, the girl returns to her human form. The duel continues with swords, both fighters evenly matched and refusing to back down. In the heat of the fight, Nick ends up trapped and pleads for mercy. But before the girl can respond, she too falls into the same trap. Nick manages to escape, only to witness a chain morphing into a monstrous beast. Nearby, a dangerous criminal named Jean appears. The girl urges Nick to flee, warning that Jean is far too powerful for him. As Jean begins torturing her for information, Nick considers stepping in but recalls his training and instead begins to meditate. As he enters a deep state of focus, the world around him shifts, trees tremble, and lotus flowers bloom. Through this meditation, Nick masters a powerful new ability, the lotus flower technique. Empowered by the energy of 9 celestial elements, he unleashes a devastating attack that obliterates the beast. Stunned, Jean begs for mercy and even offers to serve Nick. But Nick refuses, declaring he will never follow the path of someone who sacrifices others. He then defeats Jean in a decisive blow. The snake girl, grateful for Nick's help, offers to repay him. Nick declines, saying he needs nothing in return. Instead, the girl warns him of a violent attack on a nearby village. When Nick arrives, he discovers the chaos is being caused by the mother monster, back for vengeance. Her return reminds Nick of his mother's advice. Unchecked emotions can cloud judgment. Realizing the truth behind her words, Nick acknowledges that his past actions inadvertently led to this destruction. He vows to face the mother monster, but also admits he's still not strong enough to defeat her. He estimates that he needs 3 more years of training to stand a chance. The king, concerned about time, offers to confront the mother monster himself. But Nick refuses. This is his burden to bear. Just then, the snake girl appears again and reveals a secret path to gaining power quickly. She speaks of the immortal monsters who live on Bright Heart Island, renowned warriors who will train anyone who passes their 3 brutal trials. She warns that the island is perilous, but Nick and the snake girl began their journey to Bright Heart Island. Upon arrival, they were met with a surprising revelation. Only Nick could enter. With a confident nod, he stepped into the island alone. Inside, Nick was immediately confronted by a lone soldier who warned him to leave if he valued his life. Ignoring the threat, Nick pressed on. Suddenly, a swarm of soldiers emerged and launched a coordinated attack. Though he fought valiantly, defeating dozens at a time, the soldiers kept regenerating. Soon, Nick realized something crucial. The soldiers were not individuals, but a hive-like entity. They were all linked as one. If he could figure out how to damage one in just the right way, he might be able to defeat them all. Calling upon his lotus flower technique, Nick unleashed a relentless barrage. After 3 exhausting days of non-stop battle, he finally triumphed. Worn out but resolute, Nick continued onward. To recover his strength, he paused to meditate, but his respite was interrupted when a colossal beast emerged and offered him a shortcut. Skip the 2nd trial and head straight to the 3rd. The beast mocked him, bringing up his past heartbreak and questioning his purpose. But Nick refused the offer. He wanted to earn his power, not have it handed to him. With a warning, the beast attacked, sending Nick flying. It explained that to pass the test, Nick didn't need to win, just land a single injury. Nick tried everything, even a massive energy blast, but the beast was untouched. He collapsed in frustration. Seeing Nick's determination, the beast offered advice. Hit harder. Never hold back against life's challenges. Nick, surprised by the beast's unexpected help, realized that it had been living alone in the cave for over 2 decades. Seizing the moment, Nick turned the beast's own claw against it, striking its chest and leaving a deep gash. The test was passed. The beast accepted defeat and acknowledged Nick as the master of the beast. Moving on, Nick entered a glowing purple room, perfect for meditation. Just as he began, a massive bell echoed through the space. A mystical figure appeared, calling himself the master of expired magical time. He congratulated Nick for clearing the trials and bestowed upon him a medal. At first, Nick was underwhelmed. A medal after everything he'd endured? But then it was explained. This medal granted him access to a sacred training ground where he could learn the 1,000 War technique. In just 1 month, Nick's power soared to unimaginable levels. Even water could no longer touch him. Now ready, Nick returned to face the mother monster. He opened the battle with a fire attack, but the monster blocked it with ease. She lunged forward, attempting to devour him, but Nick vanished and reappeared, slashing one of her eyes with precision. He then lifted the beast high into the sky and unleashed a devastating lotus flower technique. As she tried to escape, Nick activated the Thousand War technique, ending the fight in just 2 deadly strikes. Victorious, Nick returned home. But peace was short-lived. The Zhuluan clan had declared war against his kingdom. Leading their forces was Tong, their strongest warrior and an undefeated legend. Tong had crushed many powerful fighters before, and during battles, he would overcome Tong's nearly indestructible defenses. Nick and his clan planned to use the legendary steel chains technique. Determined to prevent the impending war, Nick revealed the battlefield location and boldly declared that he would defeat Tong in combat. Enraged by Nick's challenge, Tong swore to crush him and bring ruin to his kingdom. As tensions escalated, both clans prepared for the ultimate showdown. Nick's strategy centered around making sure the Zhuluan clan had no chance of escape. 5 warriors, including his parents, were tasked with controlling the power of the dragon to bind the enemy. After absorbing that power, Nick launched a massive assault on Tong using the Thousand Swords technique. But Tong wasn't easily shaken. He countered with a devastating joint point blast, which sent Nick flying and left him gravely injured. Even so, Nick summoned his healing powers, recovered mid-battle, and launched another furious attack. But Tong responded by using the Dragon Seal to trap Nick's aura, severely limiting his offensive abilities. He then unleashed a storm of relentless strikes, cutting off Nick's allies from reaching him. Despite the odds, Nick's mastery of his ultimate techniques kept enemies at bay. Meanwhile, Tong broke free from the dragon's hold and turned his fury on Nick's parents. Just in time, Nick intervened, but Tong transformed into a monstrous, more powerful form. What followed was a ferocious clash between 2 titans. Though Tong initially gained the upper hand, he couldn't maintain his advantage. Nick retaliated using the Sword of Light technique, which weakened Tong significantly. Then, channeling his incredible speed, Nick immobilized his opponent and, in a swift, decisive move, slit Tong's throat. As Tong collapsed, Nick began absorbing his power. Just then, a second threat emerged. Chu attacked Nick, while a giant dragon descended upon his family. His parents and the remaining warriors attempted to use the Dragon Seal to stop it, but the dragon's immense strength overwhelmed them. Nick, still recovering, could only watch in horror as his family and clan fell one by one. Consumed by grief and fury, he let out a primal scream that shook the earth itself. Powered by pure rage, Nick tore the dragon apart with his bare hands, ending the war in a cataclysmic final blow. Tears streamed down his face as he looked upon the ruins. Only Pai and Nick had survived the bloodshed.